The religious warfare and wanton killing has continued apace in nearby Iraq. The UN estimated today that around 250,000 people are now fleeing for their lives in the face of the advancing forces of Islamic State militants. From their stronghold in Mosul, IS fighters struck out west at the weekend, taking the town of Sinjar and forcing 50,000 Yazidi residents to flee to the mountains. Now they've taken the Christian centre of Karakosh and surrounding towns, pushing closer to the Kurdish capital Erbil. Further south, 2 car bombs exploded in the oil town of Kirkuk, killing 11 people. This from our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson.
As the world looks the other way, Kurdish soldiers are desperately taking the fight to the Islamic State fundamentalists, but losing ground again. Because tonight it appears IS have taken another major prize in northern Iraq, the Mosul Dam. Men considered too extreme for Al-Qaeda now control the biggest dam in Iraq. And they have the fear that leaves this Yazidi woman exhausted on a mountainside in the heat without water or food. She's fled, like so many others. This woman spoke of IS fighters killing men, kidnapping the women and torturing people. Elderly Yazidi women struggle with children into the mountains. This ancient civilization originated in sun worship. Once millions, there are now just 100,000 or so Yazidi left after centuries of persecution. And even now they have reason to fear the coming of the IS gunmen. This woman said, "They're kidnapping our girls. They killed so many people. My son just died," she said. "He was 2 years old." Out on the mountain, another life ends and a woman buries her child. The Red Crescent says 70 children died out here just yesterday. The UN says people out here have nothing.
Well, we know for sure that there are 25,000 children in the mountains itself, and you're probably looking at about another 25,000 adults, so 50,000 people we estimate are stuck in the mountains at this time.
Some attempt to fight back, young Kurdish men lining up for Kalashnikovs to take on IS. Few have any fighting experience and they get just 2 magazines of bullets each. The Kurdish Peshmerga fighters are basically withdrawn from many areas. Undermanned, undergunned, they simply can't defend towns against the Islamic onslaught, and it appears they're now regrouping to defend the city of Erbil, the next likely target for the IS. Several mainly Christian towns have also emptied, the Peshmerga fighters telling them to get out while they can. Here the Bishop of Leeds spoke at the weekend of our having an obligation to these people. Once upon a time, a country called Britain set up Operation Safe Haven way back in 1991 to protect Kurdish peoples against Saddam Hussein's onslaught. A generation on, the UK and US have little stomach for anything like this.
There are no military solutions to the very difficult problems that exist in Iraq now. The American people cannot solve this problem for the Iraqi people. The only solution that exists is an Iraqi political solution.
And tonight, the men who out Al-Qaeda are marching steadily on.
Well, I'm joined now from Washington by James Jeffrey, a former US ambassador to Iraq. Ambassador, this is your legacy, and there is an embarrassing vacuum in Iraq tonight as far as the United States is concerned.
That's true. The United States is weighing its options. President Obama spoke on June 19th and committed 800 troops to basically prepare for possible American action against the ISIL movement after Mosul fell. The president has not yet taken any action, and what we've seen is this movement expanding and expanding. We can talk all night, day and all night about political problems and issues, and they are significant, but this is a military problem, and you can solve it by military action.
So you want airstrikes?
Absolutely, but not just airstrikes. We've got to give equipment both to the Iraqi army, we're doing that, but also to the Kurds, and give them advice, give them trainers, and have them do the fighting on the ground. This isn't a question of American ground troops, but the difference would be American air power. We saw that in Bosnia, we saw that in Kosovo, we've seen this all around the world. That will make the difference in stopping these people.
And it would be too little too late, is what most experts say.
I don't know who most of these experts are. Give me the name of one.
Well, Ambassador, if you think you could take a whole army into Iraq to remove Saddam Hussein, but you wouldn't have to have any ground forces to take on the forces of IS who are sweeping across that country, now that's an interesting analysis.
That's true, and but the point is there are hundreds of thousands of Iraqi and Peshmerga troops. The problem is they are not well organized, they lack certain munitions, and most of all they lack airstrikes to deal with these people. These people are small in number. There's perhaps 10,000 fighters under ISIL, but they're very mobile. They've picked up a lot of equipment from the Iraqi army, and they just are unstoppable at this point.
Are you going to pay for all this?
This is, right now, the United States runs a $500 billion defense budget. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars.
So what else can be done? The declaration of safe havens,
Well,
bringing in other people?
Well, again, the long-term solution is political. We need a better government in Baghdad that can win over both Sunnis and the Kurds who are fighting against ISIL, but they're not very happy with Baghdad. That's absolutely correct, and President Obama has been holding off to some degree because of that. But the situation on the ground doesn't listen to Washington or London or any place else. These guys are on the march. They're not on the march with a political philosophy. They're not on the march with a ballot box. They're on the march with tanks, with Humvees, and with machine guns. And you stop them with more heavy firepower in a military-to-military confrontation, or you don't stop them at all.
Ambassador Jeffrey, thank you very much. Kathy.
Now, it's revolutionary.